Welcome to the Global Medical Device Podcast, where today's brightest minds in the medical device industry go to get their most useful and actionable insider knowledge direct from some of the world's leading medical device experts and companies.
You know, I remember the day that my phone rang when I was at Greenlight Guru, and the person on the other end was a guy named Tom Rish. Tom had just read an article or heard a story about Greenlight Guru moving into a new office space in Indianapolis and wanted to know more about the company. And, you know, long story short, we chatted. We had a need for someone of his background. We ended up hiring Tom, and you know that was almost 4 years ago. And so on this episode of the Global Medical Device Podcast, I catch up with Tom Rish. Tom is a senior medical device guru and manager of our guru team at Greenlight Guru. And Tom and I catch up on a few things, you know, trends, things we're observing, things that are happening in the industry. So just a couple of product development and engineering nerds catching up and chatting for a few minutes. I hope you enjoy this episode of the Global Medical Device Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Global Medical Device Podcast. This is your host and founder at Greenlight Guru, Jon Speer. And joining me today is senior medical device guru, Tom Rish. Tom, good to talk to you again.
Yeah, good to talk to you, John. I've done the podcast, never the video, so this is a new one.
Yeah, video. Yeah, I forgot to tell you we were doing video.
I do have a story, actually, if you don't mind. I might just start with that. I was at a road show, and we were doing a podcast, like a live podcast, you know, and it was a video one. And like I did something where I asked the crowd to raise hands or something like that. And there was like a mingling session afterwards, and I heard somebody next to me, I was eavesdropping, and I heard them say, "Does that guy know how podcasts work?" So yeah, he did not know about video podcasts yet. So
you were a pioneer.
Yeah. So I always thought that was funny.
It's one of those areas that's surprising. Like, you know, we do so much in marketing, and we focus so much on different content. It's like, you know, let's be stronger in video. Let's roll these things out. I personally, I don't know if it's a COVID thing that triggered this, but a lot of the things that I watch are podcasts on YouTube. I'm like, oh, wow, we can do that. We're already recording it, so we have the technology. So anyway, So if you're watching or if you're listening, you can watch us now. And if you're listening and you don't want to watch us, that's fine. If you're watching, you know, you can subscribe to the channel. Greenlight Guru's channel on YouTube, and you know, be sure to click the bell so you get notified whenever new episodes come out. But anyway, I thought Tom and I we could catch up a little bit. Tom also manages our team of gurus at Greenlight Guru. I guess talk a little bit about that. I mean, because you know, the Guru team, I think it's good to give folks a little bit of an idea of you know, especially if they're customers, the type of support that they have. Not just from customer success managers, but also from gurus. Maybe talk a little bit about that so people have an appreciation for the role of the guru.
Yeah, definitely. We are very proud of the Guru team. I think one of the things we find, we try to collect as much feedback as we can, obviously from customers and throughout the sales process about like why do you select Greenlight Guru over other systems out there? And one of the things that always constantly rises to the top is that they feel like Greenlight Guru is more of an experience and not just buying software. And we feel like the gurus are a big part of that experience. And we want to make sure that we hold up our end of the bargain to that. So the Guru team, it's grown to, there are 6 of us now. Wow. Actually 7 of us. And we've all worked in the medical device industry. I've got some electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, biomedical. And, you know, I think so much of this industry is all about finding somebody, a mentor or a colleague or connection that has done something before, because things aren't as black and white as people think. And so we help our customers by just saying, I've done this. Here's what happened when I went through this audit, or here's how my 510K submission went. These are some of the things we missed and whatnot. And I think that's the biggest thing. We give peace of mind to our customers that as they go to hit their goals, whether it's launch a product or pass an audit, we've done it. we can help them. We want them to succeed as much as we do. And so that's the main philosophy of the Guru team, is to help our customers meet their goals the first time.
Yeah. And I think the other interesting element about the Guru team is the diversity. You've hit a little bit on it already, but just the types of things that group of people have done. I mean, they're not all same as far as career experiences. I mean, we have some folks who are product development oriented, others who are more manufacturing oriented, some who are more quality oriented. And their prior experience is with companies of all shapes and sizes, small startups to the biggest of big companies, all different kinds of products too. So it's a very diverse group of people with respect to experience. And I was talking to Etienne the other day on a Meet the Guru episode, and I made the statement that I'm pretty sure that if it can be done in the medical device industry, collectively speaking, one of our gurus has probably done it.
Right. You're exactly right. And obviously that was our strategy around building the team. I think you obviously and Jessica Lyons were the originals, and you had a diverse background. And then I was able to come in, and thanks to some of my industry experiences, I did product development, but I was also thrown into some audits and remediation activities. So we found early that our customers are coming to us with a lot of different questions. So we made a focused effort to really find people, and we'll never focus, because part of what's cool about being a guru is being exposed to a lot of different things. But we have Taylor Brown, for example, that did so many audits before. Sarah Adams, she did a FDA audit and a ISO audit in the same day. And then Etienne, Laura, Wade, all extensive product development background. So we want to make sure we cover all the aspects of the customer journey, and we've grown a lot in the last year and feel like we cover a lot of those areas.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I don't know if we have open positions in this current moment in time for additional gurus, but as the company continues to grow, we're always looking for strong gurus to add to the team. So if that's something that is of interest to you to learn more about, certainly reach out to us. I mean, I'll credit the man I'm talking to right now a great deal with doing just that. You remember the first time you and I spoke, right?
Yeah, I do. I heard about Greenlight through a news article, and I do remember that.
Yeah, you picked up the phone. I don't remember if exactly this was the first point, but at some point, you might have sent an email, but I remember getting a phone call, and you were on the other end, and you were curious. You wanted to know more, and the more we talked, it's like, all right, Tom is going to be a great fit for where we're going. So thank you for having the courage to pick up the phone. I mean, it's hard to believe it's been the number of years. How many? What you're coming up on, like 4 years, right?
Yeah.
In September.
Coming up on 4. Yeah, I think I remember.
Right? 4th September.
Close. It was November. I think I started talking to you in September. I do remember, and I think for me it was like I loved the medical device industry, being in Indiana and being in orthopedics. Very biased, but there's no better industry than orthopedics in my mind. And I loved what I was doing. I had great background, and I was just like, you know what? I want to learn some different skills. I want to push myself in different areas. And I knew I had accumulated so much information regulatory wise due to some of those projects I was on. And it's like, this could be a really cool way to help build a tech company in my state and get exposed to a lot of different people in the industry. And it's exceeded my expectations. Like, I've learned about cardiovascular applications, about so many software as med device applications these days. Wearables are huge. Just the IVD industry is taking off. And there is so much I've learned, and I couldn't be happier that I saw that. I think it was an Inside Indiana Business article about Greenlight growing. And I
think we just moved or something into the
that's right. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's an important thing, because I mean, this topic is sort of two-sided. It's for the guru who might be interested, or someone who might be interested in being a guru. I mean, that's the one question that comes to mind is, I'm climbing the ladder at my company. I'm learning all these great things, and that's true. That's great. I think the opportunity at Greenlight is you get to learn so many different things. I mean, because you will be exposed to such a diverse group of companies. Again, they're all medical device, but they're doing things from IVD to wearables to orthopedic implants to things that you just can't even imagine are possible. But you get to have that exposure, so you get to learn a lot more diversity from a device perspective. And one of the things that we encourage a great deal, but one of the things that's important, I think, about anybody that comes to Greenlight that we encourage is a learner's mind. You have to be curious and inquisitive and interested in learning more about something. And so, you and I were catching up before the show. You were sharing with me some of the things that you're doing with the Guru team. Everyone has some initiatives that they need to go out and learn something, something they didn't already know. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think one thing I've learned early in the career, every company has kind of a go-to person, for a certain topic. Maybe it's the biocompatibility person or the GD&T guy or gal or whatever it is. And we were at Greenlight, we get exposed to a lot of different things, which is awesome. And at the same time, I want to make sure the team has their go-to thing, and so we've all really tried to make an effort on figuring out what are we passionate about, what are the areas that we like, and how do we become a thought leader or a go-to person for that. And we're in early stages, but we're rolling out some of those things and going to get the Gurus more exposed to your audience. And we couldn't be more excited to start doing some of that.
Yeah, and I think for those companies who are listening and our customers, the benefit is our team is constantly leveling up and gaining additional expertise. And we're very hands-on with our customers. I mean, if you need somebody to help guide you through, the process, this milestone, that milestone, we've got people who have done it before, and they're more than happy. They're thrilled, frankly, to do that. And some of our customers, they're like, not our first rodeo. We've done this several times before. That's great too. You still have the Gurus in your corner if and when you need it. And then, but if you can go off to the races without them, that's cool. We've built a platform on purpose to help you with that. Tom, I mean, I guess I'm curious. I mean, you've been with Greenlight, approaching 4 years. You've done quite a few different things that have tapped into your expertise, with working with the customer success team as a guru, but also being a resource to help support sales as they're working with companies who are evaluating Greenlight. You've been exposed probably, I'm guessing here, I have no idea. I don't even know. Maybe I don't know. But I'm guessing you have been exposed to probably a couple thousand medical device companies over those few years. What are some interesting themes or trends that you have observed during that period of time? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I think the first thing, it is an overwhelming amount of companies that I've been exposed to. And I think the first thing that I noticed, it's very humbling and also encouraging to see how many people out there are just really passionate about their ideas. Sometimes I think that, I don't know that I have that passion that a lot of these people have, that they truly want to help people and use their market to, or their product in their market to help people. And I think the one thing that's awesome about Greenlight is it allows me to help a lot of different people that have their passions and they're maybe the experts in that area, and I can be a level removed. So I think first off, it's easy to come to work because I see the passion of our customers and of the prospects that are really trying to help people, which is one of our core values,
Right.
I think trends in general, though, I've said this for a while, and I've probably said it on podcasts before, but I think the process of medical device, setting up a quality system, getting your product to market is much more overwhelming than it actually is. I think that people think of this huge project and that they've got so many different things, and that's all true. But I feel like there are ways to break this down and really focus on the things that you need to focus on now. And I think one of the main things I've learned from Greenlight Guru that I didn't know before is you can do a lot of work to get your product ready to launch, knowing that you can add stuff on later. For example, let's just focus on design controls and risk now. A lot of our customers come to us wanting to launch those products, and we've seen huge success saying, you know what, let's take a step back. Let's focus your time, your funds, everything on certain tasks, and let's take a more step-by-step approach, or like crawl, walk, run, as people like to say. And that's one thing that has been so successful with our customers that I didn't know. And I always encourage people to do that. The second thing I would say is when I was working in the industry, I remember so many good engineers left because they said, I don't like paperwork. This is too much of a burden. And I think I've really seen people shift in their mind to, hey, using a software like Greenlight Guru or having a phased approach to implementing a QMS, even if it's in a paper system, can make this feel much less tedious. If we build as we go, it's not going to feel like paperwork. It's not going to feel like non-value added. And it's going to help our business efficiencies as a whole. So I'm really big on breaking things down, focusing on what you need to focus on now, build as you go. And it's not overwhelming like it is for some people.
Okay, well, let me take a quick break. Let me remind folks I'm talking with Tom Rish. Tom is a senior medical device guru and manager of our guru team at Greenlight Guru. That's a lot of gurus. But anyway, and Tom's been in the industry for, gosh, I always forget, Tom, how long?
It's been like, I started in 2009, so it's been like 11, 10, 11 years. So.
And he has a lot of experience prior to Greenlight working with very large orthopedic companies as well as smaller orthopedic companies in a lot of different capacities. He is an engineer. He's a product development nerd. He knows a great deal about quality system implementation as well. And certainly if you're curious about the Greenlight Guru medical device success platform and how the software and our Guru team can be a resource to help you achieve some key milestones, whether you're pursuing your first regulatory submission or you're getting your quality system ready for an ISO audit, whatever the case may be, we're there to help you. So I would encourage you to go to www.greenlight.guru to learn more. Tom, I mean, those are some great nuggets. I think the right sizing, or the build it as you go, or however you want to phrase it, the crawl, walk, run. I think that's. I remember when that like that triggered with me. I'm like, oh wow, that makes a lot of sense. And at the time, I was a consultant. One of the services that I sold was quality system services, and I'm going to be honest here. I made a lot of money selling the full thing to a startup, and looking back, I'm like, oh man, that just, I could have been, and I stayed with them, through years, generally speaking. So we had opportunities to do that, but looking back, it's like, oh wow, we should have done it more piecemeal, because they might have had more of an appetite for it if we fed them, a bite at a time, versus saying, here it all is, consume it, before it expires. So I think that's a good point. I think a lot of people lose sight of that. I do think hopefully, engineers are realizing, because I've heard this throughout my entire career, which now spans 23 years. So that's why I've got all this grade. But the engineers are, I hate documentation, and I don't think that's really true. I think they're just working in systems that are cumbersome, overly burdensome, just not architected to be streamlined. I think that's part of the challenge.
Totally agree. I tell people every day, you're thinking of this stuff, take credit for it. Everyone's heard the lamest joke in the industry that if you didn't document it, the FDA says you never did it. And I think I always tell people, you can either keep this stuff somewhere in your brain, and at the end of a project, you can build out an Excel matrix and spend a couple weeks on it, or when you're designing your product and you put a certain geometric feature on there, why am I doing this? Put that in a matrix right there, and it will save you so much time.
And annotate it too, because I mean, I've seen it so many times where, my prior career stops where we launched a product. We didn't keep a good history of all the different permeations and iterations and that sort of thing. And, the product's in the market, it's doing okay, but we need to make a change for whatever reason, fitting, a dimensional tolerance, whatever the case may be. And we would go to make that change. And fortunately, in a couple of cases that happened, one of the engineers who was reviewing the change, like, whoa, why are you guys doing that? Like, well, this as is isn't working. I'm like, well, we tried that way back when. And like, there was nothing in the DHF about that, So I think it isn't, there's a balance for sure, but I think capturing some of these things, even if they're not ideas that you pursue, but having that knowledge captured in some sort of design history file or note or report or something like that is just going to be beneficial, because your product will evolve and iterate once it goes to market. And you don't want to reinvent the wheel or invent a wheel that didn't work the last time,
Yeah, I think that is huge. I mean, it's a mindset shift that you're not just doing this because the FDA wants it, but you're going to build an efficient business. And I think, and I think other industries have gotten this probably. I think the medical device, the margins were so high for a long time, and I think that is coming down a little bit. That's probably going to force people, but you have to run an efficient business alongside this, and you can't just. You're not just doing this for regulatory purposes. You want to make sure that you make good decisions and make money as a business, so.
For sure. You mentioned a few moments ago that you're seeing sort of an increase in wearables. I was talking, I don't remember who it was, but I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were asking me like about why I'm excited about med device. I'm like, man, things that like phones and things that I wear and all these things. There's this weird convergence or merging of med device and things that I use in my everyday life. And some of it's kind of terrifying at times, but I think there's a lot of good from that. So aside from wearables, are there other trends that you're noticing as certain device types or segments? I know you're a ride or die on orthopedics just because I'm a catheter guy. A lot of people know this, but any other things that you and the gurus are observing as far as product spaces that are kind of interesting right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think I am orthopedics and I'm traditional mechanical type, but I did just see some news about like more surgical robots being cleared by the FDA. And I think the biggest trend, which I'm sure everyone is well aware, is technology. Software is in so many products. I think we do a lot of customer data, and a lot of people have software in their product, customers, and I'm sure the industry is even more. And I think one thing about software that's hard is the regulations were written before there was much software out there. So there's a lot of catching up to do. I know the FDA is working on things and other regulatory bodies, but the EUMDR is up classifying a lot of software products. So that's the biggest challenge, I'll say, is that to stay ahead and to stay on pace with the new technology, you probably have to have software involved. And how do you do that? There's just we talk about the industry being pretty gray in general, but it's very gray when it comes to that.
Well, I'll say I'll react with the caution too, because I think there are some people who are trying to be too cute. Products that it's like they're making an app and like complement their product, but just so they could be more in a tech space. And it's like, it should have value. It should provide some intrinsic value to the user or to the clinician. Have you seen any?
That's one thing real quick I do want to add, because I do think people overlook that. Like you need to know your industry, and I'm sure most people do good market research, but some industries probably aren't going to be as reliant on tech as other ones. You might think that it's going to help. At the same time, there is education and mindset shifting that will need to occur. So it's a good point that you bring up that like you really have to understand your market. User needs should not just be internal marketing teams coming up or even engineering. You need to talk to as many people as you can.
Well, and on that point, I think a lot of people make their approach is if they do talk to external users, clinicians, patients, whatever the case may be, they do so a lot of times on the front end. Mm-hmm. And then they put their heads down and then they do it again on the back end. But to me, you should be checking in with that audience throughout the entire design and development to make sure, because things shift a little bit, and you want to make sure that your interpretation still is in sync.
Right.
I'm curious, knowing your orthopedics passion and experience, are we seeing any sort of smart orthopedics? I mean, it seems to me, at least philosophically, that I could put, and I'm not a software developer and I'm not an electrical engineer or an orthopedic engineer, but it seems to me that you could put some sort of like chip or something in a hip stem and it would know like what sort of forces are happening, like maybe a mini gyroscope or something. I don't know. Is there any smart technology that you're seeing in orthopedics?
So I will say I don't keep up as much as I used to. I think most of the smart technology today that I'm aware of, at least, is during the surgical procedure itself. So helping position the implants, balance.
Well, that's cool. Orthopedic surgery. Have you seen it? Like, oh my gosh! I remember the first time I saw like a hip replacement,
it's like a carpenter. That's what.
Yeah. So it is good that they have the positioning tools, because sometimes, man, it's like they're guessing. It seems like, and I'm sure they're not, but for the layperson observing, it's like they're grabbing all these different, cups and stems and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, they are carpenters or they are artists. They know what they're doing. Yeah, so I think some of the technology around there, I'm sure in the future there will be more. Like I know there's been a lot of advancements made in the material space to try to mimic the properties of bone and cartilage and different things like that. So every industry is growing. Chips and sensors, I think some people may like it, some people may hate it, but that's probably where things are going.
Well, I mean, so I think it's just, that's interesting. I mean, we at Greenlight, I know we try to monitor trends. I mean, some of the things that I'm seeing, and I'm guessing you're seeing as well, is there seems to be a lot more IVD companies, maybe. And I think that's logically makes sense, because with the EU MDR and IVDR, the MDR is, upon us. IVDR is still roughly a year away, but that change in regulation pulls in a lot more companies that maybe weren't regulated before. So I think there's some of that. I think I got to wonder too if we've seen a lot more IVD because of things like the pandemic. I know a lot of the EUAs that were submitted to FDA were IVD technologies. Catching up with Allison Komiyama from Acknowledged Regulatory Strategies the other day, and she informed me that we're still early in 2021, but the IVD office at FDA is not accepting any more pre-submissions for the rest of the year. So there's things like that happening too.
Yeah, so the IVD space is fascinating because to me it's like the tests are obvious. They're IVDs. Then there's like this balance between giving more information to clinicians or patients that are kind of on the edge, and crafting your intended use and your indications is very, very important, because I think every clinician wants more information to make better decisions. And then there's a fine line between what's information and what's actually diagnosing things. So you need a good regulatory consultant or strategist in that space for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And then, we've already hit on software. I mean, that's software as a standalone medical device or other products incorporating software. I mean, that is a theme that I expect to continue for quite some time. Tom, anything else on your mind before we wrap up this episode of the Global Medical Device Podcast?
I think pandemic, to me, you hear so many stories about industries really hurting, and even just going around in your neighborhood about businesses that are struggling. And it's very reassuring to know that the medical device industry seems to be standing strong, and even taking off in some areas. Like, I can't even tell you how many customers shifted to help with the pandemic. And it's cool to see people, put something above their business and say, we're going to help out. So I'd say everyone listening, probably part of the medical device industry, I think it's good to be proud that you're in this industry and know that there are a lot of good people doing good things out there.
Absolutely. And I know, from a Greenlight perspective, we've worked with, to your point, a lot of customers who have made pivots. We've been resources to help them through that. We've done a lot of work with some programs from NIH, specifically the RADx program from NIH. A lot of companies that are trying to develop tests and other things to help in this time of need. And I think, to your point, it's been awesome to kind of see how resilient the medical device industry continues to be. There was, a period toward the beginning of that pandemic where we were kind of all freaked out, probably rightfully so. None of us had ever experienced anything like this, but to see how quickly the medical device industry just got back to, as quick as they could, business as usual, was encouraging. And so, I know, we love hearing those stories. So certainly if you have stories about, your success, navigating through the pandemic, or just in general of your medical device company's journey, we'd love to hear about that. So reach out to us and let us know. Tom, thank you. I know you got a lot going on and you work with, companies and customers from all over the world, and you've got a whole team of gurus. So I appreciate you carving out a few minutes to chat with us on the Global Medical Device Podcast.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It is a fun break from the normal. And I know our team loves getting on these, so invite us back anytime. Thanks, Jon.
Hey, it's work. Don't tell anybody. Anyway, folks, thank you for listening to the Global Medical Device Podcast, the #1 podcast in the medical device industry. As I mentioned at the beginning, and I'll reiterate, if you're watching us, that is awesome. Thank you. Spread the word. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell notification so you're getting notified when new episodes are available. And as always, this is your host and founder at Greenlight Guru, Jon Speer, and you have been listening to the Global Medical Device Podcast.